Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome to the channel. Now this is a video that I'm not really used to making because I haven't made any language learning videos before. I normally make RuneScape content, but about a month ago, a little bit over a month ago actually, I got really interested in learning Japanese. And the reason for that is the reason most people, most Americans at least, want to learn Japanese, right? I like anime, I like Japanese music, and yeah, I mean, I really like the Japanese culture as well. But that's kind of the reasons everybody gives you, right? But regardless of the reason for why you want to learn Japanese or any other language for that reason, if you're anything like me, you watched a bunch of YouTube videos, you looked through Google, you probably looked through Reddit, a lot of forums, whatever, if forums are even a thing still. A conclusion you might have come to that I did pretty late after I started learning actually is there is no real way to learn a language that the majority of people agree on. There is kind of a big divide between an immersion group and a traditional group. Oh,
I didn't understand.
that was my phone. But yeah, there's that big divide, right, between the two groups, the traditional and the immersion group. Now, I tried both, right? All right, so a little bit about my language learning experience is when I was young, I spoke nothing but English, right? That was my first language. At about 3 or 4 years old, I ended up moving to Mexico with some family members for a few years, and all of the English that I previously knew, I completely forgot about. Now, I spent 4 or 5 years over there. Once I ended up coming back, I spoke only Spanish and no English. So after being enrolled in school here, the reason I didn't really believe too much in the full immersion no output group is because when I relearned English, I was thrown into school, right? And in school, although you don't speak the language, you're heavily encouraged and pushed towards early output as early as possible. And I credit a lot of my ability to speak English today. I give a lot of credit to that early output because it gives you that confidence to kind of start speaking the language. And obviously you're in school, they're going to teach you a bunch of vocabulary, but anyways, long story short is it took me about 2 years to relearn English. And at that point what happened is I ended up forgetting about 80% of the Spanish that I already spoke, and I had to relearn it because I'm Mexican. I live in a Mexican household, got Mexican family, so I had to relearn all of the Spanish. And although my Spanish is not at a great level, aún así lo puedo hablar, puedo tener una conversación, puedo entender todo lo que escucho. Both times that I relearned my languages, early output was always there. So I really believe in the early output, and the massive immersion group for the majority doesn't agree with early output. They say you need to postpone it for as long as possible. Now, the way I see language, it's kind of broken up into 3 different categories, right? 1 is obviously speaking the language. 2 is understanding the language. When somebody is speaking, you want to be able to know what they say. And for that, you need to train your ear, you need to train your brain to be able to kind of listen to the language. I don't really know how to explain it. And number 3 is literacy. I believe if you're going to learn a language, learning how to read it, learning how to write it, it's very important. Probably not priority number 1. Probably reading is. Writing, not so much. But I decided that I kind of wanted to make my own method to learning the language and using a lot of my past experience as an example for how to do it today. And I kind of wanted to share that with y'all because I haven't seen any videos like this on YouTube, and I kind of want to document my journey of learning the language. I realized this is going to be a maybe 1.5 to 3 year process, but I'm having a lot of fun with this, so why not document it, right? So for number 1, output, I wanted to find a good resource that would train you in speaking, and after digging around for a bit, I ended up coming across Pimsleur. And I actually really like this. As you can see, I am in Japanese level 2 already, and the way the levels work in this website or application, because it's also a mobile app, which is something I love about this, is you get 30 lessons per level. And for Japanese, I believe there are 5 levels. So after you complete lesson 30, you get this little clapping emoji right here, and you can click to go on to the next level. And the way this works basically is you get a guided conversation between 2 natives, and that's also something that's really good about this. that apps like Duolingo and other applications they won't do is they actually have native speakers having the conversation. So you don't get some kind of AI robot that just sounds weird and robotic, and you don't really get good listening practice, in my opinion, when you're hearing a robot. So this does a really good job of actually having 2-3 native speakers having a conversation, and then you just kind of prompt it along the way to repeat certain words or certain phrases. And from what I saw, one of the big complaints people have about Pimsleur is that you don't learn enough vocabulary, which I think is completely wrong, because if I'm not mistaken, we could look this up right now. All right, so look at that. So even though people complain about not learning enough vocab, look at this. The Pimsleur system focuses on teaching a core vocabulary, which in the case of most European languages is around 2,000 words. In general, a single level of the Pimsleur system will typically have about 500 words. 2,000 words is more than enough, I believe, to understand about 80 to 85% of what's going on in daily conversation. So to me, that is more than enough. Now, what Pimsleur doesn't do too well, and I don't think it needs to do, is actually teach you how to read it, how to write it. And that's not the main focus of Pimsleur. So that's kind of why I wanted to break up my 3 categories of learning a language and find a resource that best suited each of them. So Pimsleur, I would 100% recommend it. Now, I'm not gonna have a conversation now because I'm still having a hard time trying to conversate outside of the prompt. To be fair though, I'm only on level 2. I barely reached it today. So that is enough for Pimsleur. If you're looking for a way to practice output besides italki and finding some natives that you can have an actual conversation with, this is a more approachable resource in my opinion, because it is a guided prompt and you don't got to worry about feeling nervous that somebody else is going to kind of mock you for it. This is just a lot easier to get into. It teaches you a lot of words, about 2,000 as you see, and it's just a 30-minute lesson, and you could take it with you on the go. It's on a mobile app, so I think it's very accessible, and I really do like this. All right, now the other thing I wanted to show you is this thing called Migaku. And what Migaku is basically a browser extension. So in order for it to work, let's say we turn this off, right? Let's refresh it just so I can show you from the beginning. Now, this is a YouTuber that I really like. His name is Yuyu. He makes a lot of Japanese podcast content that's kind of geared towards people learning the language. And he speaks very clear. So this will make it easy. He speaks very fast though, but I think it's good because I think most people that are natives in that tongue are going to speak their language fast. So you might as well get used to hearing it that way. What Migaku really is, it's a browser extension, right? So I don't think it's very expensive. It's about $4.99 a month, I believe. But it is absolutely worth it, even though I don't know all of the features yet, so I'm not going to be showcasing them, but there is more than enough videos out there that'll teach you every single feature that Migaku has, which is a lot of them. But there's 2 things that I want to show you, right? One is the extension, which this also, by the way, works with Netflix, works with YouTube, and a whole host of other websites. So what you want to do with the browser extension is you want to hit enable recording, and you can see recording has been enabled. Now you're going to get this little bubble, right? Once you have the extension activated, you get this little bubble that you can click on, and you get all of these settings right here. Your target language, you obviously want to set it to Japanese. You could have pitch shapes, pitch coloring, learning status. I just click these 2. I don't really need the pitched shapes. This, for whenever there's kanji, you can set it to kanji only. I like furigana because it'll have the reading of the kanji right above it. So let me actually give you an example right now. So let's click minimize this, and once the video is playing, what you want to do is hit G, and this shows up. Now what you want to do there is open the toolbar, and then you click on parse. And this is pretty sweet because you will get all of the subtitles right here on the side, and at first it might look confusing, right? But it's actually very simple. So let's say this, right? For example, you want to learn what that means. You could just hover over it and hit shift, and it'll open up the dictionary and it'll tell you. It says music. So that's the music. Let's say you want to learn what this means. You hover over it, hit shift, and it'll open up the dictionary for you, give you the definition, it'll give you the reading. And to kind of segue into, I forgot to mention, I the tools that I use for listening is one, YouTube, two, anime. I love anime, but if you're gonna use anime or YouTube, what I do want to say is do not turn on the English subtitles. If you have Japanese subtitles to you available, great, do that. Even if you don't really understand, I know there's other extensions that might work a little bit better than Migaku, but I would recommend Migaku. And the reason is, let's say you want to make a flashcard out of this, right? So that the reason it's underlined yellow is because I have a flashcard made out of that already. So the way you do that is you'll hover and hit Q, and then you get this prompt right here. So here you get to select what word you want to turn into a flashcard. So let's say you want to make that. You will go create card, and then it'll record that part of the video for you. So then it opens up the dictionary and your card creation prompt right here. So it'll give you your target word, then it'll give you the reading, and then the kanji on the side of it. It'll tell you the definition. It'll give you a screenshot of what you're currently watching in the video. If it's not useful, you can just delete it. It'll give you an image that it pulls from Google, I believe, or it generates it somehow. I don't know. You could also make it give you example sentences, so it could pull, you could decide where to pull them from. Again, there is a lot of Migaku guides out there on YouTube, and they're going to do a much better job at explaining everything than I am. I just kind of want to give you a quick overview of what I use. And over here, if you see, it gives you the audio. So you just click on it. Now you could put more results. The ones I usually like are the Google ones, which it's not showing up here. There it is. Because I find those to be the most clear. It'll tell you how common the word is. It'll give you example sentences. So let's say you want to add this sentence, right? So it helps you remember when you're studying the flashcards. You can decide which one you want. Let's say it's Monday, right? You will hit that, and then it'll print it on the actual card, on the actual flashcard. And then whatever you want to add from here, you could just, same thing, hit the arrow and it'll send it over to the flashcard. Once you're done with that, you hit create card. Now I'm not going to create a card for that. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to create a card for that, so I'm just going to exit it out. Oh, and you could also choose what deck you want it to go to. Also, so real quick, I absolutely forgot about the Migaku app, and that is another reason why I highly recommend Migaku as opposed to any of the other extensions, even though this one you do gotta pay for. Now what I really like about this app is, from what you can see here, it has the academy, it has the fundamentals, and the mining section. Now what the fundamentals do is it'll teach you some of the kana, not some of the kana, I think it teaches you all of it. So the hiragana, the katakana, it might even help you with kanji. I haven't gotten to that point yet. It has its own card creator, so anything that you see while you're on your phone that you might want to translate and create into a card, you could absolutely do that through your phone through the clipboard here, which is probably my favorite section of the app. And with the clipboard, you can, anything that you scan with Google Lens or anything that you want to copy and paste onto the clipboard, it'll help you translate it, give you the readings for the kanji, and then you can create a card out of it. It also has a built-in camera system, so anything that you want to point your camera at, whether it's on your screen or I don't know, whatever the case may be, it'll give you the translations for that too, and you could also create cards out of it. And this card creator is just very simple. It's very smooth. It is very very user friendly. It generates a lot of it for you, and it makes life simple. You could also upload your own screenshots. So that is one of the reasons I fell in love with this. It has a lot of extra features that a lot of other extensions don't have, and it is absolutely worth the money. And now that takes me on to the next part of the video, which is vocabulary. Now, how do you learn vocabulary? How do you learn how to read the language? The resource I find very useful, but the internet seems to be very divided on this too, is Anki. People hate Anki. I absolutely love Anki. Now the reason I love Anki is because, to me, the way I like to learn a lot of words is just through constant repetition, seeing it over and over again. And it takes me forever to be able to get through my new words for the day. After I get them, it's hard for me to forget them. You just got to do them every single day. And if you can't do it every day, try to stay very consistent to it, right? But I'm not going to spend too much time on this because everybody knows what Anki is. Almost everybody, I'm sure, has used it at one point or another. It's a flashcard review system. There's nothing crazy about it. There's nothing special about it. Now the decks I am using is, as you can see, I have my immersion Megaku. So anything that I pull from YouTube videos or Netflix, I will send it here to this deck. And I also downloaded the Core 2000 deck. So I'm doing both of those every day. I still haven't done them yet because I just got done with the Pimsleur lesson and I decided to make this video, right? But to kind of recap everything for output, which I do believe is important at first, as much as the immersion people want to tell you not to do it, it is very important in my humble opinion. I've learned my 2 languages that I know now twice over again, and output was a part of my process very early on. So for output, I use Pimsleur. Now, Pimsleur is a pretty expensive resource, I'll say that, but it doesn't have to be. There is a guy on YouTube who makes a video about paying a cheaper price and how to get it every single time. I am going to link his channel in the description, and I'm sure you can find the video. So output, I recommend Pimsleur. And vocab, I recommend 1, the Megaku extension to help create your own flashcards, and Anki. Last but not least, for the audio, I do recommend that you find either a YouTuber that you like, watch some anime, listen to some Japanese music. Try to do that for an hour or 2 a day. Just have something playing in the background, a podcast, whatever you enjoy. Just try listening to something in Japanese. It doesn't got to be fully active where you're constantly just looking at your screen, not understanding a damn word, but watching something, right? Try to do it active listening for a few minutes a day, because I found that to help me a lot. Every day that I tune into either Yuyu's podcast or I go watch an anime, every single day I realize that I understand more and more words. So if this video does nothing else, I hope it just makes you realize that whatever way you want to learn the language, you find a way that best works for you. Don't just stick to what one of your favorite YouTubers says and do that religiously without deviating at all, because it might not be what works the best. Kind of try out what I did, cherry pick a bunch of methods from a bunch of different YouTubers and find out what works for you. Like something that I'm gonna start today, I just wanted to finish the first level of Pimsleur, is I'm gonna be playing some games in Japanese, and that's gonna be very difficult for me. I'm gonna have to Google almost every single word that I come across, but I really like gaming. So I think it's going to be enjoyable nonetheless, even though it is going to be a pain for the next few weeks, months, maybe even. It's something I enjoy. So just find ways to study the language that you enjoy. If you don't like Anki, you don't got to do Anki. If you don't like Pimsleur, you don't got to do Pimsleur. Just if you want to do italki, I don't know, whatever it is, if you want to read magazines, a way to study those things in a way that's most enjoyable to you and in a way that's going to be sustainable for the next year or 2 or 3, because learning a language isn't going to be 2-3 months. I know you watch the YouTube videos of, oh, I became fluent in 3 months. Bull. Like, you don't become fluent in 3 months. Now you might be able to have a decent conversation back and forth in 3 months, but you're not going to become fluent. So if you're going to do this and you're going to do it seriously, find a way that you enjoy and be ready to do it for the next 2-3 years, because it does take a while. But anyways, y'all, I hope y'all enjoy the video, and stay tuned in because I'm going to make a series out of this. My long-term goal is to eventually move to Japan one day, so I'm going to be doing it for a while, and I hope you're here to tag along and let's learn Japanese together. Peace.